there's a lot going on now. I think Nigeria was just called a country of concern by the U.S. government. Same government,
Uh-oh.
uh,
Uh-oh.
same government that was messing with the Sahel. Same government now messing with the Spanish Caribbean. So
Uh-oh.
everywhere we were saying we're going to work together is getting targeted at once. So I don't know. But yeah, I tried to announce the call beforehand. This is mostly Igbo land, but
Yeah.
one of the main discussions was that Grenada is connected with Nigeria.
Okay.
But Nigeria has also been accused multiple times by the Sahel Alliance of sabotaging security because they're right next door to each
Mm-hmm.
other. There's no borders in certain villages. They're all basically like they're like a set of villages
Yeah.
cut in half
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
yeah. They're basically one. There's no borders in certain places, so it's
Uh,
the security is all connected, but they don't work together. They don't say it's a Sahel problem. So Nigeria, even
mm-hmm.
because of politics, Nigeria acts like it's this. It's like they're not connected. So they're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be operating together, but they're not.
Yeah.
So but the Grenada and the OECS has joined Nigeria to kind of deter what was going on, the intimidation by the USA
Mm-hmm.
for several months. Um, and well,
Do you think
I've been
ECOWAS,
saying,
the
yeah.
ECOWAS, do you think the ECOWAS influence do you think the people in northern Nigeria, they have strong ties with the ECOWAS for security and different political things? Do you think that might have something to do with why there's a friction between the groups in northern Nigeria and Burkina Faso?
No, it's more the politicians because northern Nigeria they had protests waving Niger flags, well Russia
Mm-hmm.
flags. I've seen one instance they said they waved Niger flag, but there's certain
Mm-hmm.
communities like the Songhai ethnic group,
Yeah.
Songhai Empire. I don't know if I think you posted about them recently, but they cross Nigeria and
Mm,
Niger. I
yeah.
think you posted that there's connections. I know
Yeah.
That
Mm,
Philip has.
yes. Yes. Developments with Philip, I didn't mention it in the group yesterday, but yesterday, King Brother Philip, he had a meeting with Jacob Zuma. Well, I told you about that part. But he's
Okay.
getting through in Burkina Faso. He has an office and a residence set up there in Burkina Faso now.
Oh,
It seems like the authorities there have taken him, I think, with the help of Arikana, Dr. Arikana. Philip is in with the regime now in Burkina Faso
I
because
understand that. Yeah.
I heard the message saying that my goodness, the treatment he's received is absolutely wonderful. They're really going out the way to include him in the developments taking place in the Sahel region and in the places in Africa. So I
Mm.
don't know now how because he was made a chief 2 weeks ago. I don't know what the obligations are, how he's going to navigate the Igbo part with the Sahel states and the diplomatic relations with Zimbabwe and etc.
He
I'm waiting to hear about that.
he was made a
So
chief in Calabar, I think, because
yes,
Calabar is not Igbo land, but it's a bordering. It's bordering
uh,
and they're interconnected communities through history. But greetings, brother Alex.
Yeah, good evening from here.
Good evening. We have a brother Ross
into
Andrew. He was born in Lagos, but he lives in the Caribbean, one of the key countries that we've been talking about.
Well,
well, I wasn't
well,
born in Lagos. I went to school in Lagos, brother. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
from
okay.
primary school age. From primary school age. Yeah. Greetings, Alex.
yeah,
It's a
good evening.
privilege,
Good evening from here.
pleasure to meet you, sir.
Yeah,
Same here.
Alex is basically he's basically the secretary or the premier of Igbo land as far as organizing Igbo land.
Okay.
He's part of an organization organizing Igbo land as a state. or to engage
Okay.
Africa and to engage Nigeria. But at this time, the USA is putting Nigeria on the map, the biggest country in Africa. They're putting it on the map again. And just as they've talked about the Sahel, they're talking about Venezuela, now they're talking about Nigeria. So we see the
Mm-hmm.
connections. Before it was talking about
Mm-hmm.
last week, they were talking about Grenada, which went to Nigeria. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like they're picking apart. Well, the thing with the USA is that it's actually like a federation where you have tribal groups, you have tribal governments. Black America used to have their own departments, the Freedmen's Bureau. They used to, so basically it's supposed to be a federation, but the black part has been destroyed as far as them being able to govern themselves or having their own office. And now it's just
Well, so
about a bunch of
yeah.
uh, European or Caucasians running their secret societies and deep states, and the black people are completely disorganized. They can't speak for Africa or for African interests. They're disorganized. So we're
Yeah.
just having this meeting to discuss the African interests and maybe a dissenting voice because we know Nigeria, northern Nigeria, the borders are not there. Now we just heard that there's a JNIM terror attack in Nigeria, crossing over to Benin. Uh,
Well,
so, and that's significant. That's the Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Benin border area. There's communities there that link Burkina Faso and Nigeria. So, it looks like they're starting to attack that connection first. So it's it's a lot, but yeah, brother Alex, this is brother Andrew Saros, and he has he has connection to Nigeria. But we were saying that in the group that the Spanish Caribbean, his area where he's located in the Caribbean is connected to South America, the Spanish speaking parts, Venezuela, where there's said to be 3 million black people, um, and which was also Haiti, and we were talking about Grenada being connected to Nigeria. So we're just saying that certain countries, maybe 2 or 3 countries in the Caribbean, can organize, you know, themselves and attach themselves to a home. But it's a lot of things. Everything's political nowadays. So and safety
yeah,
is a
yeah,
concern.
yeah,
Yeah, everything's political
yeah, yeah.
nowadays. They have an Igbo chief that was crowned in Ghana. I think he was in Ghana. Uh, brother Marlon. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
he was crowned inside Ghana. He went to Ghana and he was crowned, right?
No, they saw him in Ghana. They saw his potential in Ghana. They said when he visited Ghana, he visited the Igbo
Okay.
chief in exile, the king in exile. Sorry,
Well,
and
he's
the
not.
people
He's
later
not.
on they saw
Yeah. Go ahead.
they saw certain
Uh,
signs happen, and they said this man is a man who's destined to be a chief and later a king. So he chief Marlon, he said okay, and I think for the initiation to become a chief, he went to Nigeria. I think he was initiated in Nigeria. Yeah, I'm not
okay.
sure where in Nigeria. I haven't heard the finer details. I'm not sure how the initiation process goes, whether it's only certain people are allowed to initiate other people or the Igbo people, Igbo descendants. I don't know I really don't know how that goes.
I'm just glad there's a connection between Nigeria and Curacao at this moment in history. But I also saw that the museum, the Tula Museum, had some sort of one of the museums. I think it was Afrik Korsu or Museum Tula had a Nigerian Igbo professor teaching. So and there's a big diaspora. I guess there's a big diaspora from Igbo land immigrants into Curacao. So this was just
Yeah.
more of a trying to get people to introduce themselves and stay updated on what's going on.
Okay.
I know, brother Alex. We talked about a stock market to increase ourselves economically. Um, develop ourselves economically, that is something that we have to accelerate. But I think the USA activists and family, the organizers, will be more instrumental in doing that. Um, I think the Caribbean can catch up, but it's a lot of moving parts as far as security and things. Terrorism going on in Africa right now. Terrorism, even racial conflict. Nigeria, Chad, the border, the Darfur border of Sudan and no, it's Sudan and Chad, right? Darfur. They
Yeah.
killed they killed 2,000 people and took one of the key cities, El Fasher, and it looks like they're setting up Chad, the Chad Sudan border to be their base or one of their strongholds, and attacking Nigeria and Chad at the same time, and maybe even attacking South Sudan and the East African community. So things are getting serious, but
Yeah.
I don't know, brother Alex, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, I do, but like I'm just trying to listen to what being said so far because we are working on an uncharted territory as far as Igbo land is concerned. Like we have not really. This is the first time we are reconnecting with the diasporan community, and at home here we have so many trends, so many political and even security challenges that most times we really don't even we are mostly not always aware of what is going on out there. So, but like now we are paying more attention, like what you were saying about the people that were massacred recently. So we begin to pay more attention to the outside world, especially the ones that's connected to us as a people, like the Caribbeans and maybe the Igbos in the US, and of course the Sahel Alliance. We're beginning, like personally, I'm beginning to pay more attention to those. But you know, I don't know how long you have been in Igbo land because Nigeria scenario. So we try to, like, even though where things there are developments, most times we try to shield ourselves from it. Like for instance, you saw the last week we discussed about a potential military action in Nigeria, and I think a few days back they started talking about the coup. Now they release the names of the people that were like the coup plotters. So, or like we were saying that day, you see, most like majority of the names are northerners, and hopefully, the situation has been contained. So we now in Igbo land, our situation, the whole of southern Nigeria, because events may happen in ways that it's predictable, but not exactly controllable. So when it comes to like the Sahel Alliance, because you've made mention of it like several times, we now they see us like the same way they see an average southerner. I know that, like I told you that day, that it will be very unfortunate and most likely impossible for any Igbo person at this point in our journey as a nation to contemplate a coup against a sitting Southern president. So, but now, at least I think the events of the past 1 week, where there is actual coup rumor and people are being arrested, and so far, I think more than 12 people have been arrested, and none of them is Igbo. So, with the issue in the north, like in the Sahel Alliance, the way they see Nigeria as at least three countries. So when they are doing what they are doing, they don't really, although when you see it from outside Nigeria, like someone that's looking at it from the Caribbean, you might see Nigeria as one country, but like within, everybody sees it as this region is Arewa, that's the north, the other region is Oduduwa, and then this region which ally will force into, people tend to classify it as Biafra. So, but I'm still, what I'm just heading to is that I'm doing much of a listening, because maybe from the angle, from the perspective of the Caribbean, or see Nigeria from the outside world, from outside the country, you might see like an alliance that involved the Sahel and the Eastern region, or specifically Allibo can work. But from the inside, these two territories, they see themselves like we see ourselves as like two straight lines that can never meet. It's like oil and water. So, but I still have to still listen to see how, especially I can understand working with the Caribbeans. It is easy to work with them because most of them, they left from here, and certainly their culture evolved from Spanish, from European culture generally. So it is easier for an Igbo person to assimilate or work with the Caribbean, because we are all products, or we are all shaped by Western education. But like when we now talk about the Sahel Alliance, their way of thinking to me is more about this Arabic education, this Arabic lifestyle and Islam. So it is more difficult for us to envisage a relationship that can really lead to a reliable alliance with the Sahel. But regarding the Caribbean, or even the Igbos in the US, I'm much hopeful that our alliance can yield a positive result due to similar world views. So for now, I will be listening and see how these proposals can materialize. But I think from here you can see my concerns, some gray areas that need special attention. So I think I'm done talking for now.
Okay, thank you very much for this very valuable information, Brother Alex. We appreciate it very, very much. And someone having lived in Nigeria, I know exactly how the tribal and territorial interests work. But one thing from a Caribbean perspective I cannot understand is that there are two scenarios for a social group. One is to try and take power, and the other one is to develop their own autonomy. What is the interest of the Igbo leadership right now? Is it geared towards an independent, a Biafra, independent Biafra state, or is it about taking control of power in Nigeria? I'm sure it's not an easy question to ask, because obviously they're very different opinions and ideas about this fact. Because progress is progress, and people say, well, look, we have to take control of the government, or we have to centralize in a particular region with Biafra and work towards a greater sovereign development within Biafra. So, what exactly is the majority view, do you think?
The issue is there is a new line of thinking. For me, as someone that's relatively young, the 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 kind of tempo among young people is one of self-determination, because we have learned that breaking out of Nigeria comes with some costs, that some consequences as well. So for me, an average Igbo person is a nationalist. That's one thing that has to be understood. And as someone that has been exposed, I see the old Biafran struggle as being pushed to the wall. It was not like the Igbo nation just all of a sudden wanted to opt out of Nigeria. No, that was not what happened. It was a series of events that led to a bloodbath, that led to massacre. And then when the coup happened in 66, and people termed it Igbo coup, and for that reason, millions of people died, because there was a counter coup, which people believed that, okay, we now have a draw. So, but the civil war happened much later. So from all these events, you can see that Biafra was like a self-defense mechanism. It wasn't something that like an average Igbo person could have opted for. Of course, before Biafra, the average Igbo man was a pan-Nigerianist. You can check out Zik. You can check out even Ojukwu, the man that led Biafra. The father was one of the most richest person back then. So imagine a man that kind of invested 90% of his wealth in Lagos, seeing his son pursue Biafra. So An average Igbo person is, like I said, is a nationalist. But right now,
Okay.
this generation doesn't have seen that you cannot be believing in a system that those that are occupying it with you doesn't believe in. You cannot be investing in Nigeria when an average Yoruba person will see you as an outsider. An average northerner will see an Hausa person in Niger as a brother more than an Igbo person in Nigeria. So, but we have also assessed the cost of breaking out of Nigeria, which is going to be a bloody civil war. So, when you look at these two situations, an average Igbo person today wants autonomy within the defined territory of Nigeria. Like for me, what I want currently and what myself and my group is pushing for is autonomy within the Commonwealth of Nigeria. Nigeria is a country of 360 something ethnicities. Igbo nation is just one of them. So, and we have more than 45 million people. We are among the three major tribes in Nigeria. We are arguably the richest tribe in Nigeria. We have one of the biggest natural resources, and we have everything necessary to thrive as a people and to survive as a nation. So when I look at all these things, why would we run? Who are we running away from in Nigeria? Are we running away from the Fulanis, like an African tribe that majors in herding of cows, or are we running away from Yorubas? So I believe this generation believes that if Nigeria choose to stay together, we are staying together, but we must protect our own territory. We must define our space. And if the rest of the 365 or more ethnicity says they are no longer interested in continuing with this marriage, the Igbo nation will not fight to keep Nigeria together, and we will not fight to keep Nigeria apart. We will just want to exist and thrive. That's like the idea of an average Igbo man. That's how I see it today. I hope I've answered the question.
Oh yes. Surely I've answered the question.
I
Yes.
see. We have brother Emma Natty. Greetings.
Yes. I'm here. Good evening, house. Good evening, my
Good
brother.
evening, brother.
Confident Simon.
Good
Yes,
evening, brother.
long time.
Long
Yes,
time.
Good
I've been
evening.
fine.
Good evening.
We have
Good evening, Alonso Ketuku. Good evening, Ogechuku. Good evening, Andrew.
Greetings, brother.
Welcome.
do y'all know
Thank you.
do you know each other, Alex?
No, don't think so.
Okay, brother
I
Alex
think
is
this is the first time we are coming in contact.
okay. Brother Alex is
Yes.
the Allah. He's part of the Allah Igbo province and the Unified Igbos Now
Okay.
network. So he's
All right.
so helping to connect Igbo land and develop it into a state or a province within Africa in general. So within Nigeria or Africa in general, and they're having a meeting with some of the Igbo military veterans and the traditional rulers councils. As you might have heard, the USA is now looking. They moved on from the Sahel. Now they're looking at Nigeria and talking about Christian genocide, but they don't want to mention Igbo people because they know we're going to.
Yes.
They don't want to mention
Yes,
Biafra. They
yes.
don't want. They've been saying
Sure.
it. Yeah.
Uh,
But
nice
yeah.
meeting you, my brother Alice. Nice meeting you. One day.
It's nice meeting you
All
too.
right. All right. My name is Comrade Emmanuel Nadi, as he rightly said. I am the special assistant to BM Mazop. You know, BM Mazop is a non-violent organization that is seeking for the creation of the Republic of Biafra on social media matters. So I represent the organization on social media capacity. So whatever they dish out through social media, I am the SA to the organization on that effect. So thank you very much. Let me leave it here because I just joined the meeting. I don't know the topic of the meeting. Although I heard you saying that Igbo people are about 45 million. My brother Igbo is more than 45 million in Nigeria alone. Because if you check the Igbo people that are in Southeast alone, the South Igbos are the Igbos that are in the northern Nigeria. During the 2017 debacle that occurred between the Igbos and the North, when the Northern people gave Igbo people some quick notice, some Northern youths. The honest Igbo conducted a kind of a referendum, so to check how many Igbo people that are living in the North. This referendum only applies to those people that go to meetings, that attend associations. They discovered that we have over 15 point something million Igbo people living only in the northern Nigeria. So that these numbers are only people attending meetings. So you know that we must have up to 20 or 30 million Igbo people living in the north. If you can be able to get up to 25 million, 15 million people that attend Igbo meetings. So coming down to Southeast, we see that Igbo people more than 40 million in Southeast and South. We are not talking about Southwest. We are not talking about outside Nigeria. So Igbos are the majority in Nigeria. But because you know how British play their politics, they hand over power to the minority. They use the minority to oppress the majority. That is what the kind of politics they play. In Nigeria, we cannot run away from our home because Igbos are the aborigine of Nigeria. We were the first people that arrived in Nigeria. And when they created Nigeria, it was the Igbo people that still fought for the independence of Nigeria. And the Igbo people are still sacrificing for the progress of Nigeria up to today. And that is why the British don't want us to sit. We must come together and speak with one voice. That is why I'm attending this kind of meeting, because I would like to meet, like minds. At least we need to take the campaign to the grassroots, because a lot of people don't know what's happening. My brother Chisholm said that the Americans are designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Yes. What the Americans are doing you can be seen as a good development, but at the same time, you question the sincerity of that action, what they want to achieve with that. So that is just one thing there.
Okay, brother, it's great hearing from you, because Igbo land, the number you said, that makes us one of the largest countries in Africa. We have a
We are the
brother.
majority in Nigeria, no doubt.
That a lot of these countries in Africa are like 20 million, very small. Like Burkina Faso, that's making headlines, is 20 million people. So that we should have more capacity for security than some of these countries that are small, and we're going to need it, because Benin there's now another terrorist group in Nigeria now, JNIM, the same one that's in Burkina Faso. They just launched an attack in northwest Nigeria, and they're starting to break through even more in Chad, in Nigeria, in Darfur. Darfur is the border of Chad, so the border of Chad. Now you start to move into Nigeria. Now there's the Benin border. It's getting crazy. So yeah, so and those smaller tribes can't really defend themselves up north. So brother, we have a brother, Ross Andrew Serros. He's from Curacao, the Spanish Dutch Caribbean. This control. I think they're still controlled by the Dutch Europeans, but they have some connections to Igbo land and to Haiti, which we know visited Igbo land 4 years ago in Enugu, and Grenada has also come to Nigeria. The Eastern Caribbean states, the U.S. government is trying to set up a war in that area, so people are starting to come back home and see what they can do, see if they can speak with one voice as well, because you don't want a war in the area and killing Black people or Igbo descendants in the Caribbean. So we try to call this emergency meeting to get some of the key Caribbean countries on board. Curacao is one. I think Haiti is one, and no, we know Haiti is one. Curacao and Grenada has already come to Nigeria and signed a deal where they're in our space. So Eastern Caribbean states are in our space. Haiti is in our space, and now Curacao. So Um, yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's enough to move forward, and I'm going to talk to the USA moving forward about programs, travel. But the Curacao, we'd want to establish regular travel as well, brother Andrew, so people could
Okay. Okay.
like diplomats, so they could talk to the different nationalities, and ethnic groups, and governments in Nigeria
Yes.
about you
Yes.
know, how you guys have the Sahel connections, Zimbabwe, and East all these East African community. So all these
Yes.
federations, and you guys can come. Ethiopia is a federation. African Union isn't. They call it Toothless Bulldog. But if everyone could start coming home and centralize it, um, and have these discussions in Igbo land, things would be resolved because it's different when we sit down face to face and we could uh, have the government officials see us in the flesh from different countries coming and centralizing the discussions of Africa. I know Julius Malema was in Igbo land a month or two ago. I
Okay.
remember. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people saw that. I don't know, Alex. Did you see Julius Malema was in Enugu? But yeah, people, it's a viable area. It's a place we could centralize discussions, but that's what we have to move towards. And but I don't really have much else to discuss.
Okay. Brother Confidence, I have to leave now. We're closing up a work and transport that's coming to look for me. Brothers, it's been
Okay.
a very interesting debate today, and I look forward to the next call. Okay.
Yeah, we need
And
Curacao on time. Try to contact the others if you have I don't know, Sister Edna
okay.
or Marlon.
Yeah, Chief is very important for this because he's a military and political man with good political connections here with the government here.
Yeah, the consulate
And
too. The consulate too. I know you guys are holding a meeting. If you guys could invite the consulates to be under your town hall or your Liberty Hall, that could
yeah.
do a lot.
Okay, brothers. It's
All right.
until the next meeting again. Or if anything, please share your thoughts and with me in the
Oh,
chat. Okay.
all right. All right. I'll
Thank
end the
you.
call. I'll end the call, brother Alex. Do you have anything else to say? The next call I have is USA calls. Do you have anything else to say, brother Alex?
Not really. I think we've had a good
Okay. And I know you had mentioned something about you mentioned the Niger, the House of Land being connected to Niger and Nigeria. Uh, well, there's like so that's like I don't know if you know Calabar and the Bakassi Peninsula. A lot of the borders are not really there's no sort of fence or wall or any sort of border. People could just walk across. So it's like that. It's like that in a lot of places in Nigeria. So you know,
You mean the Bakassi Peninsula?
yeah. I know people just cross in and out out of there.
No, I
Like,
think the
like,
peninsula is something that we should be very interested in. But
mm,
that's going to be a long-term goal because it is like currently it is like a no man's land.
mm,
Because Nigeria ceded it to Cameroon, and Nigeria government didn't have the right to cede it
mm,
to Cameroon. Why do I say so? That used to be a territory of the eastern region.
mm,
So I think Nigeria ceded it just that way because it belonged to the east. If it was in the
mm,
western region, it could have maybe protected it and ensured that it continues staying with Nigeria. But right now, I don't want us to go to the big goals from the early time. So we have to maintain to get what we need to operate our government, like the stock market, the digital currency that is going to be part of our programs. But if we have our way, I think occupying Bakassi Peninsula will be a very good step.
mm,
Yeah, if we have the capacity. I don't know, Prince will have not joined this conversation for a while because we used to have a robust conversation earlier, but he's not been feeling very strong. So I guess maybe that's why he has not been very active because we used to have conversation almost most of the time. So then I was telling him that we can actually occupy Bakassi Peninsula, because he has his outfit operating there. Like,
Hmm.
they assist natives there, because the government of Nigeria abandoned them, and the
Mm.
government of Cameroon also abandoned them. So sometimes Prince
Wow.
Wales group, they kind of send relief to people that's living in that community. And most times, it's a very violent terrain, so most time the locals doesn't have anyone, any side that is protecting them. So that's where Princeville usually becomes important, because they offer protection, they offer relief, and they discuss with community, like they settle disputes in the area.
Hmm.
So yeah, we have our eyes in the Bakassi Peninsula, but right now we don't really have the capacity to maintain presence there. I believe the area also have, like, I know that any capable government, whether government in exile or real-time government, can occupy the place and maintain law and order. And I know that Nigeria is the bigger force there. If the Igbo nation wants, yes, the Igbo nation can occupy the place, because I strongly believe that on the when the chips are down, we can take care of Cameroon in
Yeah.
any means possible. So, and I like to assess things militarily. I know that currently the Igbo nation cannot stand Nigeria. So it's part of the things that I always observe. And personally, I don't really see the need, like the urgency. The need might be there, but the urgency is not there for the Igbo nation to pull out of Nigeria. Because to me, it feels like we are not, we are better, we are the best country within the confederation. So when we tend to run, I feel like, well, God, this is cowardice, because
The Igbo
why would,
country, the
like,
thing with the Igbo, the thing with the Igbo country, if I might interject, like even the Igbo country is in Africa, but a lot of times we have Igbo people everywhere. But we don't have ambassadors that work well, like with the countries or represent us well. Maybe I've seen Ohaneze or Indibo works with the government well, but you see what happened in Ghana recently. So we don't have a lot of ambassadors or goodwill that we built up. We don't organize well. That's what you're doing, building up, the structure for us to function as a province. But the things we've been doing so far, South Africa, Ghana, we haven't represented ourselves as a nation abroad. Even here in the USA, sometimes we don't do it. We don't do it satisfactory to satisfaction or to a high standard. We haven't sent anybody to Mali or Burkina Faso or anything. I think I've seen Dr. Ngozi. She's done that recently. No, I've seen her do that recently, but that's after months and years of them existing to finally see what's going on with their security and exchange notes. But the thing is, even what brother from Nsuka said, Emma, he said there's a Ohaneze conducted a census, and they found 20 million people attending the meeting. That's interesting. That'd be like 60 million Igbo people, 60, 65 million. So we don't even know our numbers, but those numbers alone could put us, at these numbers are crazy. Because it would seem like just even it might be with the designation of Nigeria as a concern, and they're not mentioning Igbo. I think they might be scared of the Igbo population because our size is enough to provide. I think our size makes us the main target of all these terrorist groups because if they could get through Igbo land, they could get into Congo. The Cameroon groups are small. They've already started jihadist attacks in Congo, so it looks like they want to take Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, and Igbo land looks like it might be the biggest barrier for them in Africa
yeah,
for the
yeah,
north.
from the onset, these guys are not, they are not, they are smart, they know what they are doing.
all the way from Egypt and
So
Arab. I think even Egypt was part of the bombing of Biafra Republic. So I
yeah,
think they've had
so
their eyes on us for a long time.
yeah, so they certainly understand that the Igbo nation is a big elephant in the room. So certainly, and again, for them to tackle Igbo land, they already also know that as much as they are crazy, they are also crazy people here. You get it? So we are still tackling our own insecurity that's internal. So them now coming here, they know that there is no vacancy of crazy people. There has crazy people. So take your craze to somewhere else. That is the message. And apart from that, the population of the yeah, the population is there. And with the high number means that the number of crazy people are also high. They have seen it firsthand. So that one is just there. But now we are talking like what is the future for us?
Hmm.
Personally, I strongly believe that with the confederate nature of Nigeria, because Nigeria is a confederation,
Hmm.
and we have the three majors. We have Igbos, we have Yoruba, we have Hausa, and among these three majors, the Igbo nation is the most sophisticated. You can come to the Yorubas and say, okay, they compete, they rival the Igbo nation and the most educated tribe. Currently, the Igbo nation have outspaced them in education, in wealth. You can say they are also wealthy, but the Igbo nation have outspaced them. The same thing with the North, the same thing with them. We are not even talking about the minorities. When we now talk about other indices, you see that the Igbo nation is ahead. So now, if you have come to be ahead, you control the economy. The only thing that you are not controlling currently is the politics. But apart from that politics, the only politics you are not even controlling is the central politics. Every state in the US now, black Americans are like 15%, but I don't think there is a black governor. But in in Nigeria, we are like about 18%, and we have at least five permanent governors. We have seven state capitals. We have 13 states where Igbos are indigenous. What we need is to harmonize this gift that we already have.
There
If we
are
can harmonize it,
well,
yeah, I'm listening.
well, there are black governors in USA, but that's another issue where people here were kidnapped and they didn't have they were forced out of their nationality. Even in the USA, I don't know if you've heard about it. People were forced to uh, have children against their will, and it was the history in the USA is very ugly. So, um, where people lost it, were forced to give up their identity, and they're just bits and pieces of what used to exist in Africa. But so the political system you see is people participating in is more by force and intimidation and brutality. Now the Hausa, you could say the same thing because I don't see any Hausa emirs or
Yeah,
Yes,
they are
they had
they
centralized
yeah.
government, so they had seven kings, and they were all killed. So the British handed over power to people who had a jihad agenda, ethnic
No,
jihad.
I don't
So
really think I buy that narrative of British handing over to the Fulanis. The thing that
well,
happened was,
mhm,
yeah, I don't believe that because we Africans, we don't like taking responsibility.
mhm,
That's the first thing that I've noticed.
mhm.
Someone will keep on saying that Lord Lugard amalgamated Nigeria, and so many people are still blaming that man that died over half a century ago for what we are in
Well, no,
Nigeria today.
I would say
Now,
that the main point I was making though. Well, you can answer yes or no. Is there a house of kings in Nigeria? House of emirs, or are
no,
they
no, no, no.
Fulani
They are
emirs?
no more Hausa. They are all under Fulanis
Okay.
now. No,
Okay.
they are all under Fulanis now. But the thing is that where I'm going to is that we now, as Igbo nation, right? This traditional kingdom, they are not. That's not our tradition as Igbos. We are not emirate people. We are not our kingdoms. We don't used to have kingdoms like what we used to have. Is gerontocracy, the government by elders. At least it still survives in Enugu Ezike today. But
Mhm.
now the northerners, I don't really used to pay much attention to how they have allowed the Fulanis to subjugate them for that long, right? But what I'm interested in is that as at today, the Igbo man can organize, we can organize ourselves. We're already working on that. That's why we are on this call. We can organize ourselves. And when we organize ourselves and set things right, you will see that other Nigerian ethnicities will begin to protest to leave Nigeria.
Mhm.
Once Nigeria is designed to be anti-Igbo, so whatever the Igbo man wants is what the rest of Nigeria would reject. So when we are able to say, let's go on with one Nigeria, you will see the rest of Nigerians wanting to pull out. It's happened before. The first embassy, the place where the Nigerian embassy, the Nigerian house in London today was built by the Western Nigerian government because a Yoruba man is fundamentally secessionist. That is an average Yoruba man. He always wants to either be highly autonomous or separate from Nigeria. That's why you will see that by 2027, if they push Tinubu to the wall, Nigeria might be questioned. So now we as Igbos, we have to evolve that autonomy. We have to evolve that self-preservation. That's what we need.
Mhm.
When we evolve it, Nigeria would. Do you see that the rest of the ethnicity, if 300 or something ethnicity say that they don't want this marriage again, only Igbo nation cannot stop them, and we won't stop them.
Well,
But it's like a waste of
I
yeah,
think
I'm listening.
I think we need to have both. Well, just we're not all exposed to the same information, but uh, this conversation might seem strange to outsiders, but you have the East African community with Congo, which is 100 million people, being the largest country, but there's about 300 million people in the East African community. You have this new confederation of 80 million people or 70 million people in the the Sahel Alliance, right? AES. So and they border or they cross over in Nigeria through Niger. So you have 80 million people, and maybe if you count the Hausa of Nigeria, that's 150 million people in the space of the Sahel Alliance. Not to mention Chad and Borno Empire. So you start to see that the space of Africa is shrinking. If you have Chad, I think that's 30 million. If you add northern Nigeria, Hausa, that's 70 million. So that's 100 million if you add Chad in northern Nigeria. Northern Nigeria and Chad would be 100 million. And you add that to the Sahel Alliance, three country, that's 170 million. So you start to see that, northern Nigeria and the Sahel Alliance might be forming into one country. So that might be actually the reason the USA is targeting Nigeria now to say, hey, let's. And there was a coup recently for people. They might be puppets trying to keep everything separated. Where Igbo land would be able to, if Africa is making these giant blocks, Igbo land would or Igbo province would be able to say, wait, we're autonomous. Let's talk to this Sahel group that goes to Chad and Erua. Let's talk to these people and let's talk to the East African community. And we see Zimbabwe joining, and so it seems like Africa's coming together. We just have to be in the middle, like what you're doing. The Ala Igbo province, just and the Malima came to Enugu, and it's starting to show that we have the numbers and the capacity to facilitate the rest or be in the middle of Africa coming together. Even geographically, we are kind of in the central Africa. So it's more about us being in the middle and helping facilitate what they're doing or as they're coming together, but being autonomous community at the same time. So that's what's happening. But at the same time, we're going to see things like coup and things that might affect us negatively start to happen because we are the central administration of Africa, if you want to call it that. So the coup. I don't know. I haven't seen the coup plotters' names released. I don't know if you have that or if it's just something in Nigerian media that's not been seen by the outside world. But I would like to see that list. But you know, I don't know. It feels like the borders of northern Nigeria are dissolving more and more, and the security issue is going to be discussed amongst them in the north and with the Sahel alliance countries. And it seems like people are coming now. People are coming in to try to throw coups and disrupt that and call it a Christian issue now. I don't know, but not mention Igbo land at all. So it's a lot of strange things going on. But I don't know. We've been here 50 minutes. I don't know if you want to have closing statements. This was mainly to introduce the Caribbean people, um, the final Caribbean people into Igbo land. So the next one we'll start to talk more about the stock market, and I know the offer that people are giving over here in the USA, and they're not political. It was $10 per session, and you $10 per session. But I don't know how to expand that and ask people over. We'd have to see if we could sponsor people and have capacity, and they don't. We'll have to see what we can do. If um, we'll see how if we could do, even if it's just one of us do start off and start learning and doing it and sharing money where we can. But we have to start something, even if one or two people. That's my opinion. So we'll see. I have to talk more to USA people, and we'll see. We could go from there if that's okay.
Okay. Whenever, like, because the stock market, like we said earlier, is something that I'm very interested in. In fact, any enterprising stuff at all
Hmm.
that can help us to, like, you already know that we are not going to start fighting for resources
Hmm.
that is already within our current government structure. So we need extra funds, the funds that is people oriented,
Hmm.
where the refinement of individual skills and knowledge can be transformed into cash. That's the kind of thing that can help us to finance what we are doing, because anything asking for land that we did not purchase just because is, that's like looking for trouble, and we are not ready for that. So you see that the stock market and other forms of investment is like one area that we can capitalize on to gain what we want.
Exactly. Agreed. Okay. 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 We could close the call out. Thank you for your time. I know it's an emergency call, but we're going to process this and see the next steps. I think it was USA regions 8 through 10, 8, 9, 10. So we'll see. But it was good that the Caribbean brothers showed up. There's another one that's a military chief in his country, Curacao, but he didn't show up. But he shared pictures in the past, so he's in the forum, and we'll see how we could get our people home. But the USA is more enterprising, and once you have the enterprise, you can actually move past talking. So we have to get the Caribbean on those enterprises too, investment. So that will be a challenge, but we have to. We'll just keep moving forward. All right, brother.
Thank you. Good night from
Thank
here.
you, Chief.
Yeah. Bye.